Happy Valentine's Day. We are here to share the love, and we're going to be talking about why we love networking, and you should too. We're going to talk about why we love referrals. We're just in this whole spirit of love, even though, some people love the holidays, some people don't. I'd love to hear from you as you're watching. Do you love the holiday? Do you not? Also, why we love networking. That's what we're here to talk about. For those of you that come in from Facebook, just to let you know, here is the link you need to go to so we can see your name on Facebook. But we'll come back and hear from you shortly. So welcome, Tom. Welcome, Mercedes. And we've got Sean popping on. We just went live. So welcome, everybody, to this I Love Networking and Why You Should Too. If you love networking, I'm gonna hold my thoughts. I don't know that I love it, but I thought I'd hear from y'all first. So, Tom, why do you love networking? If you do or if you don't?
Well, no, I do love networking. The whole concept of getting to know other people, getting to know other perspectives, people's beliefs, people's values, developing a relationship. I just think it's fun. I think people are curious, and it's wonderful to get to know them.
Excellent. Love it. How about you, Mercedes?
Well, I think that the reason some people don't like it is they think of it as selling. And that was a misconception that I had, but that is not the case. I think what did the trick for me was thinking about it as Tom mentioned, meeting people, getting to know them, seeing how you can help them, and developing those relationships. Because it just makes sense that if, you're always willing probably to help someone out if they need help. So if you help someone, then they're more likely to want to help you. So it kind of works out. I just had to adjust my thinking that way.
Love it. Love it. How about you, Sean?
Yeah.
Do you love networking and why?
I do love networking, and part of the reason is I get to network with people like you and Tom and Mercedes, and they've already said it, better than I could. I mean, for me, it's all about the relationships, and you're not going to build or foster those relationships without networking.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's one of those things that maybe it's not that I dislike networking. I'm certainly not excited to go to a networking event as I'm like, okay, it's where I'm going. But once I'm there, I have a blast. And yes, you get to connect. You get to meet new people. You get to see people that you've already met, developing and continuing on those relationships. I think there's all kinds of networking that we can do. Why should people network if they're not sure about this whole networking thing? Because y'all are networkers.
Well, I think it yields results. Maybe from the approach of someone that's a little resistant to it, is maybe think of it as you're not there to meet everybody in the room. You're not there to sell everybody in the room, not even one person. You're just genuinely there to meet people. And if you approach it, I think, from a place of curiosity and genuinely wanting to meet relationships, I think your perspective will really change and you'll grow to like it.
Or tolerate it at least.
Yeah, it's something I think that's certainly helpful to build your business. It's a nice byproduct. But I think I am surprisingly, I thought I was an extrovert because I like people so much. And then over the years, I've come to find out that I think I'm a situational extrovert. So, because it's hard for me, like you were saying, Tiffanie, to, oh, do I go? But then once you're there, you have fun.
Well, and I also think you have to figure out why you're networking at a particular event. I mean, we're all, I think, talking about networking at a business networking event, but you can network other places. Like, for example, here in Tampa Bay, we just finished Gasparilla. I'm part of a Gasparilla crew. We just had our one of our night parades, the Santiago night parade. In a month, we've got the St. Patty's Day parade. To me, that's networking. Even though the purpose was to have fun, and a lot of the crews have fun and drink occasionally, and but they're also community service, community oriented groups. And so, I network with that group. I go to that group to network, and then in creating the social relationships within that group, I'm now getting referrals from that group. And so I think you also, when you're going to a networking event, part of it is, why am I networking at this particular event, and what do I want to get out of it?
Yeah, I love the idea of creating an intention or even setting goals before we go to a networking event. I think it's really easy to go and say, okay, how much time am I going to spend here? I'm much more, let's create the goal of how many prospects do I want to meet? How many potential referral sources do I want to meet? How many appointments do I want to schedule as a result of this conversation? And for the introvert in me, the game I like to play, Mercedes, is okay, I've got my goal of however many, I've set for the day. And once I get done, I can go, I'm done. I'm like, I hit my goal. Yay. And then I can leave.
Well, and I think like Sean was saying, it depends on the type of networking that you're doing. I think what you just described is what I do when it's a business event. But I think if it's a more community or social, let's call it personal event, like his crew or Sean, you also coach your boys' teams, that can be seen as networking too. So I think you're not out there to sell. You're just out there to make genuine connections with people, because when you're talking, how often do they hear, oh, well, I'm going through this situation, I need help, but I don't know where to go. You may know someone to refer them to. That's networking. I know that when I needed something, whether it's, a contractor or a doctor, that one of the first people that I ask are my parents, or my brothers. That's just a natural thing for me. So this is just kind of taking it to a different level.
Well, yeah, one of the things we learn as we start this process of networking is that it's something we've all, I agree that there is no such thing as a natural networker, but I think networking can come naturally. And one of the first things I learned is that, hey, I want to go see a movie this weekend. What do you recommend? I mean, that's a form of networking.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
I want, I love Mexican food. Where's the best Mexican restaurant in blah, blah, blah city? That is a form of networking. So I don't think there's natural networkers, but I think people network naturally.
Yeah.
And I think of my husband, who is an amazing, he's one of those, there's no such thing as a stranger. We happened to visit a new brewery this weekend, and for 10 minutes I'm like, I don't even know if I'm here with anybody, because he had made friends with the owner and the bartender and the other guys sitting there, and apparently they have friends in common and all kinds of craziness. However, that naturalness, I think you got to do more. I see some people that are natural connectors and friends, but you got to have the systems and the thoughts behind it to make the connections, to make that bloom, to make it happen. I'm not necessarily the natural networker. And so for me, it's the backup stuff is good. I've got to work more when I'm out and about and talking to people. But that's why I like to partner with, somebody that likes to talk to, what is it? There's no such thing as a stranger. Because then it's like, okay, you can talk and I'll get us done what we need to get done if it's a business networking event.
And you just brought up a great point. I feel much more comfortable going to a business networking event where I might not necessarily know people if I bring a friend with me, because I'm not going to sit here and talk about myself. That doesn't feel natural to me. That's not my personality. But I'll brag on someone else all day long just because I'm happy and proud of that person. And I think at a business function, that works a little bit more organically and authentically.
Mr. Fleming, it looks like you have a thought on your mind.
Yeah, I think your original question was, why do you value networking, and I think it comes down to what you all are referencing, the fact that we can't do it all alone. We don't have the resources, the information, the time to generate our own clients on a consistent basis without maybe cold calling. I think people need to realize that we all have an information network, we have a support network, and we have a referral network. And again, we can't do it all alone. And to work in an environment where you're expanding a team of people that you can support and can support you, I think that's what it's all about, and that's what makes it fulfilling.
Awesome. Thank you. So what I want to do, because we're here, but you might be wondering, who are these people? Who is Tom, Sean, Mercedes? If you're watching this, probably you know who I am, but maybe not. Who's Tiffanie? So what I want to do is just really quickly going to let the people here introduce themselves, who they are, what they do. Maybe even if you remember your first networking event or, something from early on in your networking. And then after we do our introductions, then we're going to have everybody share a networking tip for you. So Sean, I'll let you start the introductions. Who are you? What do you do? All that jazz.
So my name is Sean Yesner, as you pointed out. I'm an attorney. I help people who want more money at the end of the month rather than more month at the end of the money. So that basically means I help people make their debt go away, whether that's through settling it, whether that's through bankruptcy, whatever means. I help people make their debt go away to relieve that pressure from their lives. I also have a podcast that supports the law firm. The podcast is called Crushing Debt. And so that's what I do. I'm an attorney and a podcaster. And my introduction to networking was a B&I meeting, 2004. So as we record this, that was 17, 18 years ago now. And I remember walking into the room and thinking to myself, if I can get 1 or 2 referrals a year out of this group, it'll pay for itself. And oh my gosh, was I wrong. And I've gotten so much more than that, both in terms of referrals and knowledge and education and friendships and mentorships and all kinds of other stuff, just from learning how to be a better networker.
Cool. And speaking of learning, I just noticed I had this in my captions, so I wasn't planning on. I used this for a live Tom and I did last week, actually. Sean's also an author, and if you want his book for free, his second book, you can go to bit.ly/SY debt free. That will take you to Sean's book.
Cool.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? We were talking about how to make a profit last week, and I popped that up, and I just was looking over here. I'm like, oh, look, there we go. I've got that.
There it is.
Yep. And since I'm sharing links, if you want to come hang out with me more, I have a Facebook group. It's all about more, and that's what I'm about. More money, more time, more fun. I've got the sign on the wall to prove that's the focus. And we do that through online programs, through workshops, through just generating referrals so you can create your success. And like Sean, my first experience in networking was B&I, actually. I remember getting a call, being invited. I had just gotten married like a week or 2 before and was doing my business. And they're like, hey, you want to come to this meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning? And I'm like, nope, I don't wake up till like 10. Because back in the day, I was cold calling all the time, and you can't really go cold calling at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I wouldn't get up till 9 or 10, and then I go do my cold calling. Now I'm a morning person, and I get up at 5. But just like Sean, I walked into this room, and I have a marketing degree. However, I didn't know anything about networking, and I'm like, oh, I need that person. I need that person. And if they could pass me referrals, this would be really amazing. I was March of 2005 was my introduction to networking and to B&I. Mercedes, you want to introduce yourself for us, please?
Hi, I'm Mercedes Buntz. I'm also an attorney, Mercedes Buntz Law, and I help people gain peace of mind and protect their families. So primarily through estate planning and administration. So what does that mean in English? I help people and provide information so they can decide if they want a will, a power of attorney, a trust, or navigate through everything that needs to be done when a loved one passes away. Hey, we all could use some help, and there's so much misinformation out there. I like helping people by providing them the right information so they can make the best decision for themselves. In thinking back to my first introduction with networking, I was networking and I didn't even know it through school. Because think about it, you're competing for scholarships, letters of recommendation, maybe when you're applying to university, you're competing for internships and jobs. And how many times did you think, oh, well, so and so just got it because they knew the head of the whatever. And so it's hard. So I think I was doing it even then, especially in law school. I think my first formal introduction to networking also was at BNI 7 years ago. They didn't teach us how to network in university or in my case, in law school. You're just expected to kind of learn as you go if you even realize that it's something you need to know.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So I'm Tom Fleming, and I've been facilitating educational conversations with business professionals since 1996, in an effort to support them with growing their business, hitting their goals. In alignment with that, I run a coaching practice. Similarly, again, in support of helping business owners accomplish their goals or create a vision. A lot of times, business professionals are struggling with, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want my business to subsequently look like? But I'm reflecting on my college experience when they spoke so much about the power of networking and finding a job and so on and so forth. And my perspective was networking, schmetworking. I can do this on my own. And so there's a phrase in life, you teach what you need to learn. And so here I am, the last, 26 years teaching referral-based marketing skills, networking skills, which obviously have transformed my perspective on the value of networking through the years. My first networking experience, they said, you're going to have to stand and introduce yourself. And I immediately began to panic because the whole concept of public speaking was not really in my genes at the time. And I stood up with sweaty palms and shaking hands, and I think my voice cracked as I introduced myself, and it was quite embarrassing. But if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. Was I scared to death of networking and developing relationships and putting myself out there? Yes. But I had a dream of being a successful entrepreneur. So again, if the dream's big enough, the facts don't count.
I love it. Thanks for sharing, Tom. And Tom, I want to kick it over to you. This idea, I know we have I love networking, but we also talked about I love referrals. So you want to talk about why you love referrals or something like that?
Well, we don't have a few hours of time here, but just a couple of thoughts off the top of my head is I was reading one of your recent ebooks over the weekend, Tiffanie, and you talked about the fact that when you wind up being introduced to a prospect from a referral, it's likely that it's what I call done deal business. There's not really going to be a lot of selling involved because based upon a testimonial or a referral from a trusted person that knows the prospect and you are the go-to person in the prospect's mind. So there's less objections, there's less negotiation around price. Chances are, you don't have to quibble on price with a referral. And then I think the loyalty associated with a long-term customer from a referral goes a long way as well. Client retention, if you will, is much better with the clients of mine that are referred to me versus are not referred to me.
Awesome. Excellent. Yes, so very true. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I'm ready for y'all's networking tip. I know the audience is probably ready for your networking tip. And I get it's really hard. Like, hey, give me a networking tip. I'll be like, well, here's book number 1, 4.5 networking mistakes. There's lots of networking tips in there. So I know all of these people here have massive amount of knowledge when it comes to referrals and networking. So I know it's hard to say, give me one, but give me one. Who wants to start it off so then you don't have to worry about anybody else taking your tip?
Well, I
Okay.
already
I know.
gave one.
Okay.
I already gave one about networking with a buddy and tag team, because it's usually a lot easier to toot someone else's horn than to toot yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Mercedes. How about you, Sean?
I think you said it earlier, which is to go with a goal in mind. So when I attend a networking event, I do have 1 or 2 or 3 goals that I want to accomplish. I don't necessarily split as soon as they're done, but I do like to have the ability to tick off that I accomplished what I set out to accomplish.
Gotcha. Well, you can stay longer if you want. I'm not, but you can. Yeah, and probably one of the tips that I think nowadays is super important, because one of the things that happened when COVID happened is we started doing online meetings. And there are a ton of meetings that we can go to. And I know some parts of the country are opening back and they have in person. Some are still, some countries are still 100% online. I think what's really important is we have to watch which networking events are we going to go to. It's super easy. I could do networking 24 hours a day if I wanted to, because there's so many different events all across the globe. And so I don't think you want to do that. So be picky on finding the right kind of networking events, whether it be a social event, whether it's BNI, the chamber, community service clubs like Rotary. We want to make sure we're picking the right events for us that fit in line with what our goals are, not necessarily just for the event, but overall. Tom talked about, he likes to work with entrepreneurs about creating the vision. Part of that vision, part of that work is, who are the clients that I want to be surrounded by, and where are the right networking events so I can go to find the people that know those people. Tom, you got a tip for us, sir?
Oh God, you and Sean kind of grabbed my thunder, if you will. But I'll just expound a little bit on what you just shared, Tiffanie and Sean. I think begin with an end in mind when it comes to networking. So many people define networking as the art of getting out there and throwing stuff at the wall and hoping some of it will stick. And to be frank, so little of it does stick. So take some time to determine what your networking goals are. What do you want to accomplish? Do you need information? Do you need support? Do you need referrals? And then I like to say, fish where the fish are. Fish where the fish are. Meaning, if you know what your goals are, you probably have a good grasp on the types of people that can help you accomplish those goals. And find out where they hang out, and invest your time there, rather than what many of us did when we started networking, which was running around like chickens with our heads cut off, accomplishing nothing, really.
Yeah, I totally remember being that person. I got into networking in 2005, fell in love, not necessarily with the networking, but what it created. And so I'm all about the results. So to me, it's so worth it. It's the best way I found to grow my business. And I was the chicken with my head cut off, just networking. And it was actually when I did Asentives, back then it was called Certified Networker, the Ignite Your Business program. I'm like, there is a better way of doing this. And that's a big focus and Asentiv, is how do we have that amazing business and spectacular life? So we're not running around like crazy. And you can check out tampa.asentiv.com for information on that. And we're actually here. We're all members of the Asentiv Referrals for Life community. This is the elite, the best of the Tampa networkers. So we're glad to, well, Tom technically lives in Citrus, but he's kind of close to Tampa. We're here talking about this idea of I love networking, why you should too. Also, why we love referrals. This is kind of we're beginning to wrap up. So I'll just pop around to each of you to see what else you would like to add as we're wrapping up our conversation on love and networking, because happy Valentine's Day.
Well, on that note, for Valentine's Day, someone that I know in my chapter, BNI has been very good to them, because not only did they grow their business, but they met their future spouse in the chapter. So you never know.
I already had my man when I got into BNI, but like all of my friends, like the only people I hang out with in Tampa that aren't from networking in some way, shape, or form are people like family members. Everybody else, it's through networking one way or another.
Sean, anything you want to say to wrap things up from your perspective?
Gosh, to wrap things up, like you said, I mean, we could have this live continue on for another 2, 3, 4 days and probably still wouldn't cover everything we need to cover. But yeah, I mean, I agree with everything we've said so far. In fact, when Tiffanie made her comment about, the only people that she hangs out with other than family she met through networking, and I was thinking, well, we had a couple come over last night for the Super Bowl, and we all watched the Super Bowl, but I met them through my wife, who was part of the Moms Club with the other woman, because my oldest son and their oldest son are around the same age. And so even from that perspective, people that I would consider friends of mine, we still met through some form of networking. It was just networking through pregnant wives and kids rather than networking for business.
Hey, it works.
Yeah.
I think how I'd wrap up this conversation is, despite the fact that this session is called "Why Do I Love Networking?" there's a lot of people that don't like networking. And we're going to suggest to you to maybe change your paradigm of what networking is. So many of us, when we start networking, we go out to network to find out what we can get. And we wind up getting disappointed. We wind up feeling rejected. We find ourselves feeling like networking doesn't work for us. Instead, network to find out how you can help other people. Because in helping other people, what you're letting them know is that you're on their team. And when you're letting people know that you're on their team, you're inviting them to be on your team. So change your paradigm of what networking actually is and position yourself for success by helping others rather than trying to figure out, again, what you can get out of your networking results. That will come over time. Trust us. We've all been there.
And just to add to that, for the people that don't like it and are starting out, it's okay to take baby steps. I mean, that's how I did it.
And I think that's why, a company like Asentiv is so successful, because people do need help with this conversation. The concept of networking and growing your business by referral is not covered in business schools and universities. And the bottom line is there are a number of strategies and techniques and tools that support people with respect to succeeding in networking, which is why what Tiffanie teaches helps people save time, make more money, and you just wind up having fun in the process.
Definitely. So thank you, everybody out there for watching us. Thank you to Tom, Sean, and Mercedes for being here as we explore this idea of I love networking, because it is such a powerful, powerful tool. We'd love to hear from y'all, in the comments. What were your thoughts? Why do you love networking? What's your hesitation? And Dr. Ivan Meisner, who's the founder of BNI, which we've mentioned today, because most of us are actually have spent many, many years involved in BNI. He likes to say with it, networking is not net sit or net eat, it is network. So realize that there's going to be some work involved anytime you want to create success.
Well,
Thanks everybody for what, Mercedes?
I was just going to say, and just like anything else, whenever you start something new, you're not going to be great at it from the get-go. It's something, that's why I said baby steps, learn along the way, and you'll eventually get there. But if you don't start, you'll never get to your destination.
Very, very true. Thanks everybody. Happy networking, y'all.
And happy Valentine's Day.
And happy Valentine's Day.